Hey everyone, Miss GoElectric here. Now before you watch this video, please make sure to check out my Meebike Gallop Step Thru review. The reason why I want you to watch that first is because I go over all the features and specifications in that full ride review. In today's video, I want to talk about the differences between the Meebike Gallop Step Thru and the Meebike Gallop Step Over. Because in my review of the Meebike Gallop Step Thru, there were some opportunities for improvement that I saw, and Meebike decided to send me the Step Over version to see if it addressed a lot of those concerns. So we're gonna jump in and find out what the differences are, and then I'm gonna take it for a ride. The first thing I want to talk about is the frame design. Now with the Step Thru version, it is obviously just that, so much easier to get on and off. But one thing to note is that the seat is actually positioned lower. So when I'm sitting on the bike and I'm pedaling, my knees come up really high and I don't get full extension, which might not be a problem for some people who intend to ride this around like a moped, but for people who want to pedal and that are taller like me, it's a little bit uncomfortable. But that looks to be addressed here because on the Step Over version, the seat position is a little bit higher. So for taller riders, it extends that stride a little bit more. Speaking of the seat in the Step Over version, out of the box, it was making a really loud creaking noise every time I would sit on it. So I actually removed the seat. They had some foam tape in there already, but it wasn't in the right spots because it was just creaking up and down on that frame. So I moved the tape around and added more foam tape, and now the creak is gone. In my review of the Gallop Step Thru, I thought that this bike was nearly perfect. And one thing I really liked about it was that it had a really wide and long rack. Now on the Step Over version, you'll notice it's a little bit shorter, and that's because you have the seat that's a little bit longer. Now, one improvement that I would have liked to see on the Step Thru version here that I talked about in my review was the fact that the rear suspension, even though it's in the loosest setting, was stiff. And I know that in this particular model, there are 12 coils here, and the distance between the two coils on this and the Step Over version is a little bit shorter, and there's 9 coils here on the Step Over. So it seems to me that this might have a little bit more compliant of a ride, but I want to find out, so I think it's time to take it out on the trail and go see how it performs. Okay, so I just want to point out some of the comparisons that I have between this bike and the Step Thru design that I have of the Meebike Gallop, because obviously the design looks different, but the riding position is a different feel as well. This one sits up a little bit higher. It can accommodate taller riders. Although it's not as easy to get on, it's still a lower profile, so it's not that difficult to step over, especially for someone like me who has pretty long legs. I'm tall, I'm 5'11", but you'll notice that this is still something that I'm gonna have to get used to because you can see my knees and frame, I'm sure, and I'm not used to having a stride like this because I'm used to having a flexible, adjustable seat that I can move up even further. But to be fair, most of the time I'd probably be riding this around more like a moped than taking it on trails like this, rough terrain. A couple things different that I like about this seating position versus the Step Thru design is the seat is much longer. And to me, it feels a little bit more comfortable because I can scooch back a little bit further, and that kind of helps give me that like longer stride, even though it's not that much longer. It's more comfortable for me than it is on the Step Thru. Now, this particular, you'll see it's struggling a little bit to get up this hill. I'm in pedal assist 2, but take it up to pedal assist 3. You're gonna have to go into those higher modes to get on the steeper inclines. Now, as far as components goes, this is the same as the Step Thru. So same performance, same brakes, Same really cool bright headlight and integrated tail light as well. Fenders included, so I just am so impressed with the price point on these Meebike moped style e-bikes. We'll see very quick and responsive throttle on this. But again, just like the Step Thru, I would love to see different grips on this. The leather, when I'm going on any kind of rough terrain, it's just a little too slippery for me. When I unboxed this one, the box came super damaged and falling apart. It actually, before I even got it, FedEx had sent a note that said it was rejected, but then it actually did show up, so it's kind of weird. But the whole side of the box was split open, like on the corner. The suspension in the rear is much cushier on this than on the Step Thru version. And I was really disappointed with that on my first Gallop because it's just too stiff. And I think still it's too stiff here, but it's more acceptable. Like I can actually feel it performing. Whereas the other one, it was just so rigid. I was bouncing all over the place. This I can actually stay in my seat most of the time because it does have more flex. But I think that's one thing that they really need to work on at Meebike is getting a different rear suspension system that loosens up a lot more. So overall, I think I would still opt for the Step Thru design instead of the Step Over, but I could see as to why people would want this one over the Step Thru. And it definitely has its advantages, but ultimately, they make some good products, and I'm looking forward to seeing more bikes offered by them in the future. So let me share my final thoughts and give you a summary of this bike versus the Step Thru. Now that I've spent some time on the Meebike Gallop Step Over, let me give you a recap of my thoughts. Let's start with the pros. The seat is higher off the ground, so it makes the riding position, especially for taller riders like me, a lot more comfortable. And I like the fact that the seat is much longer, so I can stretch out all the way to the back of the seat to give a better stride. Next thing is, although I like that the suspension is looser than the Step Thru version, I think it's a little tight still for this particular bike, and I'd like to see Meebike make some improvements there, but nonetheless, it's still a pretty cushy ride. One last improvement I'd like to see on this bike is integrating a USB port on the battery, because this is such a big battery, and I think this is the type of bike that people who are adventurers or take it camping and things of that nature will really appreciate it. This way, you can actually take the battery out and put it in your tent overnight and use it to charge your phone or other devices. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this latest video, and if you're interested in learning more about the Meebike Gallop, then see the link in the description below. Meebike might help support the Miss GoElectric channel if they find that we're helping their customers find the right bike for them. Until next time, drive, fly, ride. Go electric.